As a freelance video or image creator, you might be shooting plenty of micro-budget or no-budget projects that can require shooting in open public locations, often with limited time or resources to complete the shoot, especially if you've got things like the added logistical complications of avoiding capturing the general public in your shot. In these situations, using lighting or even lighting modifiers can be difficult or impossible. And it can mean you just have to try and nail the intended look of the shot to the best of your ability, with little or no control over your lighting. But by working like this, you can learn a lot about light. When you've shot a lot of natural light, you have your own work to go back over and analyse to see what worked, what didn't, and why. When one shot doesn't come out the way you want, but another does, you may be able to pick up on patterns that you didn't notice during shooting, furthering your understanding of light and how it works. With that in mind, let's go over some shots from a few videos and still images, shot using only natural light, with no artificial lights or light modifiers, and see what we can learn from that lighting. We shot this music video nearly 4 years ago, implementing natural light for the first half during the day, and adding our own lighting for the second half after it got dark. The intention for the overall look of the video was to create something dark and moody. We were good with lighting for that in the second half of the video, but for the first, we didn't have any lights powerful enough to compete with daylight, with half the shots being outside. So a good place to start with this was to plan the shoot for an overcast day. Overcast light can create a very moody look on its own, with no extra light shaping necessary. Let's take a look at the lighting in these two shots, of one of our characters on his way to work, and the second of our other character and singer following him. If we take a closer look at the light on both of our subjects' faces, we can see there are some differences, even though both shots were filmed under the exact same lighting conditions in the same area. The face in shot 1 seems to be lit a little more conventionally. We can see more of a graduation from light to shadow across the face. Shot 2 seems to have more light both sides of the face, with the majority of the middle of the face being in shadow. This kind of look can be considered unflattering, and is often the kind of lighting that we try to avoid, especially when we start learning about lighting. But we should always try and use lighting in tandem with the story, mood, or themes being presented in whatever work we're shooting. And what we have here works well, with our character looking a bit unhinged as he stalks our other character. So, why are there differences between the light falling on the faces in each shot, if they were both shot under the same conditions? In shot 2, there's a few things that could be going on to create this look. Even in cloudy weather, certain points in the sky can be a little brighter depending on the sun's location. It could be that the sun is back here somewhere, making the sky in front of the camera brighter and the sky behind the camera darker, creating this particular pattern of light on the face. Another thing that could be happening is that something in our environment is creating a shadow in the middle of the face, acting as a sort of environmental negative fill, blocking light. We were actually crossing a road at this point, and behind the camera, we were approaching a row of houses, which would have been blocking some of the skylight behind us from hitting the face. Essentially, the houses behind us were acting as a huge flag, blocking the light. In shot 1, we can also take a more detailed look at our environment to figure out what's going on with the lighting. We have a bit of a brighter edge light on one side of the face, with the light stepping down and then graduating to shadow as it falls across the face. As mentioned previously, it looks like we're catching this edge light from a brighter area of sky to the side and slightly behind our subject. You can actually get a better idea of this if we tweak the grade a little bit by raising the highlights. If we zoom out, we may notice that our subject is walking past a bush to his right. Now there was also a house behind the bush at around this angle, so it's not a stretch to infer that the more shadowed side of his face is being shaped by the bush and house, which are blocking the light to this side and a little in front of his face. Whereas we have far more open sky hitting the other side of his face, as any other obstructions are further away on the other side of the road, meaning more light from this side is reaching his face. So, what have we learnt just by analysing the light in these two frames? Well, we've learnt about the conditions for creating these looks. We can use tool structures like buildings or even things like trees to block and shape light. So, if we find ourselves shooting outdoors again, in a similar situation like an overcast day, we know that we can use our environment to make our light more interesting. And this carries over to situations when we do actually have more control over our light. For example, if we don't have a building to block out the light, we use a large flag instead. So the knowledge we gain about how light works in everyday situations and how we can control it can help us to recreate similar lighting patterns using our own lighting modifiers when we're able to implement them. These environmental lighting rules also apply to photography. Using natural light is a popular way to light portraits, and you can use your environment to block or add light to the face. Here, we shot in overcast weather between two tall buildings. The light from the sky was effectively turned into a long overhead softbox, lighting our model and background in a soft, directional way. The buildings acted as our negative fill, blocking the skylight from both sides, creating shadows either side of the face. You can also use your environment to bounce light, as well as blocking it. This portrait was shot on a sunny day. We placed the model in a little pocket of shadow at the bottom of a cliff on a rocky beach. The sun was blocked by the cliff, but was still hitting the beach to our right. Due to the rocks being a light grey, almost white colour, they reflected the sun back onto the face. This provided our key light, along with the light from the sky providing our fill light. The cliff to the left acted as our negative fill, blocking light and providing us with shadow, helping to shape the light on the face. We could just as easily have implemented these environmental lighting techniques for video too, and we could also recreate them using lights and lighting modifiers if we were in a more controllable environment or we had more budget for our shoots. Before we take a look at the whys and hows of shooting our next two videos in natural light, don't forget that you can grab my 21-minute colour grading tutorial from my website, detailing the process of grading 2 cinematic looks in DaVinci Resolve for just £8, along with free practice DNG files so you can grade along with the video. Since I've made the move to Zyro, you can now download the full quality tutorial straight from my website. An e-commerce plan from Zyro enables you to upload and sell digital products up to 25 gigabytes in size, which is amazing if you're looking to sell digital products online and you've previously been limited by upload size, like I have. If you also sell on Facebook, Instagram, or Amazon, you get the tools to manage this all in one place. Building an online store with Zyro is really easy, and online commerce has been an especially important element to my own income this year as a video creator, as I'm sure it has been for many freelancers and small businesses in and out of the creative industry. And moving into a more hopeful 2021, selling online is going to be just as significant. Zyro's also been the easiest site builder that I've used to build a website and storefront. I might know how a camera works, but I've got no idea how HTML works, and Zyro has allowed me the freedom to make a fully customizable site and store using an easy and intuitive drag and drop system. Not to mention, everything is very fast loading when browsing, and from a business perspective, when you're trying to attract clients with your portfolio or selling products, speedy loading is definitely a desirable element, not only to increase sales, but to help you rank better on search engines. Click on the link in the video description or use the code ROBELLIS and you can get up to 89% off with my holiday deal on Zyro's 1-year, 2-year and 4-year premium plans for a limited time, along with a free domain for a year. And with it being so close to Christmas, my deal could also work nicely as a gift for someone you know who's been considering making a website or starting an online shop. If you're using natural light in your shoot and you have no ways to shape or modify that light, not even when using your environment, planning around the time of day that you shoot can be extremely important to ensure you get the look that you want. We shot this simple multi-angle performance music video just before sunset. The aim was to have a summery look and feel to the video, with more of a natural, uncontrolled look to the lighting, letting the faces fall into shadow and having the sun flaring into the shots. Both me and the artist lived near this beach, so we knew whereabouts the sun would be setting and based the timing of the shoot and band positioning around this so we could have the backlight we needed from the sun. We wanted the sun setting, but not too close to sunset, so that we could blow out the sky in the background, have some details in the shadows, a little bounce from the sand, and generally just have more of a natural, uncontrolled look. By planning this out, and knowing where the sun would be and when, we were prepared enough to get all of the angles shot and the video completed before the sun started setting too much. So we can learn from natural lighting and plan for natural lighting. But there's another element to consider when shooting natural light, which isn't quite as comfortable and easy to compartmentalise. And that's luck. We put a fair amount of planning into this video, which was recorded live and filmed in one shot, on top of Cheddar Gorge Cliffs, a beautiful location in the UK. We took half a day to scope out both sides of the cliffs, to figure out the best location for the band to perform. Once we found a good spot, we decided it would be a good idea to shoot the video during sunset. So we used a free sun tracking app to figure out where the sun would be setting and at what time. Luckily, we were shooting the video at the time of year when the sun would be setting around here, meaning we could have the band playing with the view in the background. Sunset would be the most practical way to achieve nice lighting in such an open area, with a strong backlight and soft front light from the sky, and also just being at this height with the town and reservoir in the background. A sunset from this vantage point was just going to look beautiful anyway. We had arranged the day of the shoot around good weather, but on the day, suddenly different forecasts were saying different things, and we were a little worried about the chances of rain. Weather in the UK can be pretty unpredictable, but we decided to push on. Worst case scenario, we'd have to rearrange. The only issue was that we had to take a full band's instruments, microphones, stands, a desk for recording audio, car batteries so that we had power to record audio on top of a cliff, and the camera gear. All of this up a 450-foot cliff. That's quite a tough 30-minute walk with all that gear. And if it rained heavily, we'd have to lug it all the way back down again. And, obviously, it started raining when everyone was near the top. We took some cover and decided we'd at least try and wait it out. A by-the-minute weather forecast site was telling us it would pass soon and that it shouldn't be raining again for the next 3 or 4 hours. So as soon as it stopped, we got out and started setting up at our location. We already knew the sun was going to be in the perfect position between 7 and 8 PM. So we made sure that we had enough time to get set up and ready to shoot as early as possible, so we could get some takes for safety in case the weather took a turn for the worse. Except in reality, it was about 6:30 by the time we were ready, due to the rain we had to wait out earlier. The band were playing 2 tracks, totaling around 13 minutes. So we had around 2 safety takes to work with before we'd be in our sunset hour with our ideal light. We shot a few takes, and it ended up being around 7:10 until we were ready for another. Now ideally, this is where we should have had our amazing sunset in the background, but it was just a bit too cloudy and obscured. And while it did create a gentle backlight with a soft front light, it wasn't quite what we'd envisioned. However, during the take, the sun started slowly coming out from behind the clouds. Where our background became brighter, the sky behind us became darker. The combination of the sun and these dark rain clouds that had passed over us earlier, creating more contrasty and interesting patterns of colour and light on our band members and the environment. By the time we were approaching the build-up in the latter half of the second track, our light had become extremely dramatic, culminating in a harmony between the visuals and the music. It was pretty safe to say that after this take, we'd done a good job and the shoot was complete. So, we knew that sunset was going to look good. Over the years, that's something we'd learnt about light by shooting in it countless times and analysing how our images look in those situations. We knew where to shoot, which direction to face, and what time to shoot to get the light that we wanted by planning it out beforehand. But the light going how it did during the shooting was pure luck. The clouds were something we had no control over. They just did what they did. Sometimes, everything just comes together. But one point to remember is that without knowing a sunset would look good, and without planning out how we did, we may not have even been in the right place at the right time for all of those elements to come together. So it definitely helps to have some knowledge and planning in place to begin with. Ultimately, learning how natural light affects an image can improve your overall understanding of light and how light works. Hopefully, this video has given you something to think about in terms of how natural light works, how you can study, reverse engineer, recreate, plan for, and use natural light, and how learning and planning can sometimes put you in a more favourable position to get lucky with the way the natural light works. Grab my 21-minute colour grading tutorial at robelliscinematography.com/downloads for just £8 and get up to 89% on yearly plans for your website with my Zyro holiday deal using the link in the description or by using the code ROBELLIS.